All right, we're live. We're good to go. We're here on Bench Talk Live. I'm super excited to be here, ready to get the show going here. So let's get into it. First off, sip of coffee for the working man. A little bit of free advertising today. We actually bought our home here from this real estate company. So a little bit of free publicity here from Signature Premier Properties. It's just what I had today. Sip of coffee for the working man. Mm-mm. Got some espresso in there. I don't know what coffee I picked up today. It was one of the Keurig cups. I got a big thing on Amazon, a Keurig cups. I don't know what the hell I put in there today. I think it's from Kenya. Who the hell knows? But it tastes good. It's getting me going, keep me running this morning. So excited to be here on the bench talk. And you guys know the deal. Live podcast. Just kind of come on here, shoot the shit, have a good time, talk about whatever you want to talk about, answer questions. What's up, Clinton? Clinton's in the building here on Instagram. We're live on Instagram. We're live on YouTube. So let's have a fun one today. All right, I got a lot of good questions that came in the other day. So again, on Mondays, I put up on our IG stories a little question box. You can drop your questions in that box. I then take them, I write them down, I answer them the next day. What's up, Steven? The Vanilla Gorilla 2.0. I love that name, but every time I see it, I keep thinking it's Blaine Sumner. That's the 2.0, I guess. All right, guys. So we'll kick it off with a good question. I had a couple questions come in the other day about lifting your head up while benching. Okay, a couple great questions here. I appreciate because Brad messaged me earlier on, and then he remembered to come back on Monday to drop it in the question box. So I'm gonna get to Brad's question here at BradW_79. What's up with people lifting their head off the pad while benching? Is it good, bad? Why does it occur? And then I'm going to continue off that question, Brad's question there. We had one from, which I think is an awesome IG handle here, at Abraham_Lifton. Abraham Lifton. Very creative. How important is keeping your head down while benching? I can't stop mine from lifting. So, a couple great questions about keeping the head down while benching. So they kind of go hand in hand here. Surprised we got a few on this topic. So let's get into it. All right, lifting your head off the pad. Is it good, bad? Why do you see people doing it? All right, so I can't really think of any current lifters that come to mind when I think head off the bench. Because Julius Maddox, I don't think he lifts his head off the bench. His bench technique is kind of far off what I coach, but when you're hitting recently, I just saw 660 for 6 reps. I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want. He's just a giant person. So I don't think he lifts his head off the pad though. I think he just sinks the bar a little bit, and gives it that little whip, kind of loses the position there with the elbows tucked underneath, and gives it a whip. But I don't think the head comes up. But no, I don't coach the head coming off the pad. Why I don't do that? Why I think it's a bad thing to incorporate in your technique is it ends up pulling your upper back, that contact point, off the pad a bit. Therefore, your position sinking. Okay, if you are going to maximize your position, cut as much range as you can. All right, we want as much weight back up here. If you're watching live, you can't see where I'm pointing to. I'm pointing to like my back, bottom of my neck, upper traps area here. We want to get as much of our body weight into that area as possible. If we're doing that, we're in a good propped up position here, a good arch. Because the more I can arch with that upper back, the more that contact's going to be up near my neck almost. So when you lift your head, everything tends to follow with it. So you'll see that head come off the pad, and then you'll just subtly see the chest start to dip down too. Because if I don't let my upper back peel off the pad, right, then it's very tough. I'm getting a big stretch in the back of my neck. It doesn't necessarily have to happen with each other. Because your head lifts doesn't mean that you're going to lose upper back contact and your position is going to collapse. but it's just not something that I like to play around with or have athletes try. We got a little shadow going on with this hat, so I'm just gonna pop it off. But just not one of those things I coach. I don't think the risk versus reward type of deal is there. I don't think it gives you any extra benefit. If you're someone who is really into that habit of sinking weight and then trying to heave it off their chest, well, then that's a whole other ball game, and that's like a whole thing to work out of doing. And that's a tough thing to overcome because it's one of those takes a step back to take a leap forward type of deals. Because your strength off the chest right now is related to you getting that pop, okay, getting that sink and heave, if you will. So if you're someone that does that and your head comes up with the descent, right, that's probably why you're probably in that kind of a pattern. Although I have seen people lift their head and keep their positioning, but like I said, I don't really see the benefit of doing that. Um, especially if it's not in a sink and heave. You can get a little pop there. I'm not a fan of that style, but that would be the only reason you lift your head to kind of get that momentum going. But if you're not getting that, I really don't see the point in lifting your head off the pad. Some federations, and I think mostly USAPL, I'm not sure USPA, I think that's fine there, but I know USAPL, you need to have your head in contact. That's something that they're looking for. The head has to touch the bench. Okay, so hopefully that answers you guys' questions from Abraham Lifton and Brad79. Abraham Lifton's in there. He says, yep, bingo. Appreciate the question, my friend. And then I know you also mentioned, he said something about you can't really stop yours from lifting. I assume that's more related to it's just kind of a habit that's ingrained. And I've been there myself. I used to do a head lift. And I think I'm not sure if I tried to get out of it earlier, but I remember going down to my current coach in Vermont, and he said Jamie Mata. He said to keep the head down, and he was telling a story how he would duct tape his lifters' heads to the pads to get them out of that habit. Because once you're in it, like you're in it, you always just lift your head, and it's just something you do. You don't even think about. And it's hard to break out of. Yeah, it's a habit. Abraham Lifton's a habit. And I've coached some lifters where I don't know if I suggest this. I don't think I suggested it, but what they did, they took a band and they strapped a training band around their forehead, around the pad, to keep their head down so that it would stop lifting. Points for creativity, but I was like, I don't think you needed to quite go that far. I think the duct tape thing is plenty fine if you want to get crazy with it. Vanilla Gorilla, I tend to lift my head during speed bench work. It's a hard habit to break. Yeah, and it's really what it is. I mean, you can know not to do it, but it's one of those habit things. It's like someone trying to quit smoking or whatever. It's more habit related than anything, right? They go out there and break, and that's kind of what they do, and you don't even think about it. But yeah, it's tough to break. But I think if you start duct taping your head to the pad, I think you might be good there. It's hard to forget about it when you're duct taped down there to the pad. Let's see any questions rolling in here. Clinton made a comment. Been working on overhead press like you told me, and my bench is feeling stronger already. Glad that's working out, my friend. I've seen some big correlations with raw benchers, especially getting that overhead press up. Granted, it's not where it needs to be yet. You see some real good improvement on your bench press there. So I'm glad that seems to be the case for you here. Let's see. We go down. Swab to cold. I know you said there's no perfect rep ranges, but I'm hearing for strength 3 to 5 rep range and hypertrophy 8 to 12 rep range. Yeah, that's real generic info, and that it's the truth. It's the truth, and that's what they'll teach you in schools. Going through school for kinesiology. You really you hear those kind of things in the training world quite often. 3 to 5 reps for strength, 8 to 12 for hypertrophy, and yeah, that's spot on. You need higher reps if you want to build muscle. You need a little more time under tension. It's a different type of adaptation that you're going for. It's more Um, use the right term, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. The actual cell is enlarging for hypertrophy, whereas for strength, you stay at those lower rep ranges, usually have higher weight. That's more the contractile components of the muscle itself that you're building. All right, so you're not necessarily gaining size, but you're getting stronger, and that's the difference there. Um, so yeah, the different rep ranges. The powerlifters are going to spend most of their time in those lower rep ranges. But I tell you too, I mean, you know, there's something to be said for the higher rep range for bodybuilders and whatnot. But I've seen, at least speaking for myself and some others, I mean, I've seen some of my best size gains from stressing powerlifting movements. I think you need to have some strength component because you always want to see those numbers climb. And then, of course, being stronger in the big three, that's conditions your body to be stronger all around. Therefore, you can use more weight when your hypertrophy sets. And that's important too. And I think if you're just always in that hypertrophy realm trying to gain size and you lack that strength component, you're never really progressing well on those weights. So they go hand in hand. And that's kind of the routine here, especially how I program. You know, might have heard at West Side it explained like max effort, and you got repetition effort after. It's just like main work and accessories. That's all it is. Your accessories are going to be more hypertrophy based. If we're going into a meet, a lot of them, I cut down the accessory work a little bit, and then I'll put in more compound movements, a little bit heavier. But it's really it's your main work. That's your strength based stuff, lower reps. I usually won't program like comp bench or squat or anything like that over 5 reps, and then accessories usually in that 8 to 12 range, something like that. All right, so hopefully that helps. Um, Darius Kajevic. I always screw your name up, my friend. I think you've joined us a few times. Apologize. Is it okay to start first bench press training after quarantine with high reps, 8 to 10, and next training to do heavy, 5 to 6? Yeah, that's a nice little linear approach there. Just kind of get your feet wet again, get the technique down the best you can. I'm actually going to be coming out with a off-season program, and I'm trying to time it around when lifters will get back in gym, so it's useful. And obviously, if you're on a VIP membership, if you're part of the team, then it's a free PDF for you. Probably retail for like $40, but it'll be available on our store. And I'm guessing within the next 2 weeks or so, I'll have that puppy up, and that's great because that off-season type build. That's how I would recommend lifters transition into getting strong again. So that's going to have the whole layout and be the perfect time to run through that. So I'm really excited to get that out. All right, let's see what's coming in from the YouTube. Matt's popping in today. Seth, what's up? Seth Jackman, wrestler in college, bodybuilder also, along with 2 of my teammates. He started competing a little bit, loving it, man, pushing into the 400s now on bench. That's awesome. 400 is definitely a great company to be in. I mean, you talk about your general population probably never reach 400-pound bench. I mean, just people walking to the gym and hit 400. That takes some significant training a lot of the time, so that's a great milestone. You can see, hey, if you're in the 400 club, go over to the bigbenches.com. We got the 100 clubs milestone shirts. I got my 800 right here. So yeah, definitely go check that out if you're getting close to a milestone. Matt says, do you always use wrist wraps, or do you take some periods to train without them to build wrist strength? Yes, that's a great question and a great prelude to Thursday's episode this week. Coming out Thursday, set to publish at 2 a.m. You wake up in the morning, boom, right there for you. Benchcast, all about wrist wraps. He must have had some insight, but Thursday is all about wrist wrapping, what wrist wraps to wear, how to wrap them, when to do without them. Any questions that you had on wrist wraps probably going to get answered by that podcast this Thursday. All right. The question that you're asking here, when do you build strength without the wrist wrap? I would do that coming off of meat, and I kind of told a story in that podcast about, where I went through a period where I just had wrist wraps on all the time, and I didn't really think much of it. Just kind of was benching, wrist wraps, and then I started doing some training without the wrist wraps. I'm not sure why. Maybe I tried a different bar or something. I just didn't have them on. And I was like, shit, this feels real shitty and it feels heavy, and the wrist just didn't feel strong, and that connection just wasn't good. And I'm sure the bar placement probably wasn't there at the time too, but um, I had to build that up a little bit to build some of that strength through the wrist. I felt like there was definite leakage of force there. You could feel the difference between having the wraps. You never want to rely on equipment, whether it's a wrap or whether it's a belt. I try to get away from most equipment after coming off of meat. The other nice thing about that is now you don't have to go quite as heavy to get a significant strength stimulus. Okay, so training out without a belt for me, I really had to stress that for a while. I did a lot of deadlifting earlier this year without a belt. Before the world went crazy and kind of fell apart, went to shit. And those freaking murder hornets, I got to put up my murder hornet tracking system and netting so those murder hornets don't come up and ruin my barbecue. All right, let's check out some more YouTube. Kevin Outland, I do know back work. How important is it to raise a max bench? I would definitely start including back work. It is pretty important, and I'm sure it'll make a big difference for you. Granted, and the caveat here is always that you can have a big, strong back. You can build that up, but if you don't know how to use it, completely pointless. So the technique has to be there in order to really get a benefit from training your back. So that's the important thing. But yes, it can help tremendously. All right. Dubson 965, Coach Ben finally made it on this. You are right. You are on the bench talk. Coach, can I ask you about this guy's form? Joseph Erickson. I'm not going to be able to see it on the podcast here. He says he notices with his form, I can't tell if he controls the bar on the way down or not, and his leg drive is different than most talk about. He seems to drive mostly through his quads or something. Another video of him, but way older. So like I said, I'm not able to see the video on air like this, but that sounds like a typical situation where he's coming down with the bar and it looks like it speeds up and it kind of collapses into the chest. And then you see this big giant leg kick. All right, you describe it as mostly through the quads. Probably just a quad extension away from the floor. And then you see that kind of boom, that heave up. And that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier in the podcast, where you get some athletes who does that kind of sink and heave style to build momentum off the chest. But I'm just not a fan of coaching the bench that way. I'd much rather stress control throughout, positioning, tightness, more along the lines of how you've seen some of the previous world record holders there, Eric Spoto, Kirill, them bench. I thought that was all phenomenal technique. Matt says, do you want the same bar speed from an empty bar to your max? The goal should always be to try to max out your speed. You're trying to get it from point A to point B quick as possible. That never changes. But the bar is going to slow down. That's just naturally going to happen because you got heavier load on there. It's just not going to move like a twig anymore. But you'll see some athletes who keep a really consistent speed throughout. You see some of them blow up these heavy weights like there's nothing on the bar. That's just a sign of good explosive conditioning in the body. These are very explosive athletes. They've trained that way. That's the thing. You have to really train to get the point A to point B the quickest. I was listening to Jimmy Cobb's podcast. Guys, go check out Jimmy Cobb's podcast. Got a great one. Like I said, if you enjoy my stuff, you'll enjoy his podcast. But he was talking about that the other day, how you want to attack every set. You want to be as explosive as possible. All right, so you're trying to get that thing off your chest. I forget how he related it, but that should always be the intent. You are trying to throw that bar off your chest no matter what the weight as quickly as possible. And I did a whole podcast on that. That's probably the number one training piece of advice I could give anybody is to move the weight with intent. As much intent as you can give it. All right. Be as explosive into the weight as possible. It doesn't matter empty bar or not. All right. So hope that answers that. Lifting Mailman. Hey, thanks for all your help. How's your shoulder doing? I remember you mentioned you were having a shoulder issue. Yeah, thanks for asking, my friend. It's not going so well, but hoping to get into a PT place hopefully soon. Get some work done. Can't really tell right now if it's something that has maybe like some small tears or something, or it's just a tightness or whatever. It's that retraction here. Can't do much raw benching. Hurts pretty bad for that. Could be worse though. So I mean, it's manageable. It doesn't really affect me too much outside the gym. It's uncomfortable. It's been going on since January, but you know, sometimes that type of shit just takes a while to. Um, my hand was in bad shape before that. It's always something. It's one thing after the other. That's powerlifting for you. I thought like something was busted in my hand because the thing wasn't healing up. It was, I couldn't even do a push up on it. And that was for felt like 8 months. Probably not an exaggeration there, but shit just takes some time sometimes. But I'm trying to do what I can, flush some blood in there, get my shoulder work in, do my stim unit, things like that. Just doing the things I can to try to speed up that recovery. But I appreciate you asking. Darius Kajevic. Darius again. Is it okay to do push-up training? 2 push-ups trainings per week. Monday 7 sets hypertrophy and Thursday 7 sets for power. Push-ups you can do every day. Especially if if you're pumping out like 40, 50 reps of push-ups, it's not a huge stimulus that's going to wear you out. You could do push-ups till the cows come home, and it's just kind of good general conditioning. So however you want to break it up. Yeah, so what I've been doing with some of my athletes is the push-ups. Either we have kind of a strength-based focus where it's like a decline push-up with bands attached, or weighted push-up, and then sometimes I'll just let them rep it out. We'll do like sets of max push-ups, just regular, no extra weight. So we do break it up, kind of a strength-based, hypertrophy-based too. GW Ireland. Hi from Ireland. How we doing in Ireland, my friend? Can you suggest sets and reps, percentages for long pause work? Hopefully you're fresh and well. Hopefully you're fresh and well too, my friend. Had some of that Proper 12 the other night there. Conor McGregor's whiskey. I think it's good stuff. I'm not the biggest connoisseur in the world of whiskey, but I think it's some good shit. So, I'll keep drinking it. Anyways, percentages, sets and reps. Traditionally, long pause work's either going to be a movement earlier in a training cycle, and then we might do something like a 3x5 or a 5x5. It's traditionally probably gonna be around that 5 rep range for long pause work. If we really stress trying to get some weight up that day, it's probably not gonna be long pause work. Usually try and go a little more time under tension, spend some more time in that area down at the bottom. So usually gonna be around 5 reps. Let's say 3x5, 5x5, and the percentage, it's probably gonna be around, because you can figure about a 5 rep max is around your 87% range. All right, you have to factor off a few because we just want to. 80% would be like kind of where I top out with the volume. Going a little higher than that, that's going to be tough to keep up with. Got to take some off of that because it's long pause work. We're talking around that 60 to 70, 65, 75% range where you're going to get some comfortable volume in. And then we could also do it later on in the training cycle as secondary work, and in which case it would probably be 5 5 to 6 reps is where I like to have that. Probably about 3 sets for the most part, and probably be even lighter than that 65 to 70. We're looking at 55 to 70, range, or 55, 65, something like that. It's back end work, so you're not gonna need to go as heavy on it. You want to stress more of the pause, so it depends on the phase. But hopefully that gives you some insight in how you can get that going. And Darius clarified, you're not talking about push-ups, but bench training of push day in the gym. So yeah, that'll be same type of thing. It's good to switch up those rep ranges so you have your heavy day, have your hypertrophy training. So I think that's a great breakdown there as well. So good to go. All right, guys. We got some more questions that came in the other day. We got a great one from Matt, Hybrid Hillbilly. What core training best suits training for bench? All right, this is a great one. This is a great one. And yeah, I would say something that mimics the bench as best as possible. But we have a unique situation on the bench. We're in this big globally arched position, right? And we're just trying to brace through that midsection. I'd say it's really important that you have ability to push out everywhere, and that's something that you have to work on. That bracing ability. So I always go back to this. I attended a couple of years ago, I think, the Kabuki Strength Seminar there. I forget what they call it, but great insight. Great insight on proper breathing, bracing, all good stuff there. And he'd get down, Chris Duffin, he'd get down on the floor with you there, and he's jamming his thumb in the different parts of people's midsection. And he's getting in there, he's pushing, he's putting force. And he'd have them, he was like, okay, now brace. And you would tighten up and contract, and he would be able to feel where there's like a lag or you're not really getting a good push out. And the thing is, with bracing, you don't just want to push into your belly region. You want like a full kind of compression all the way around. Think of it as if you had this, I don't know, this big, let's say a big thing of cookie dough or pizza dough or something. You want to compress it straight down to flatten it. If you kind of hit one side, it's all going to come out the front. And that's like when you start getting hernias and things like that, shit you don't want, okay? So when you're creating that bracing, you want to push everywhere. Your lower back, midsection, all that, and smush straight down. So that's important on the bench. You don't want to push out on your belly on the bench. You kind of want to think about expanding into your sides and your back as much as you can. Because I can tell you, if you just prioritize your belly, man, I feel like I've torn up my abs sometimes, like feeling like shit's maybe popping out or whatever, or getting a strain. Because you're already in such a big arch position, you don't want to strenuate that more under the load. So I'd say just good general ab training is going to condition you well, and just knowing how to brace out everywhere, just going through that, and then any isometric work, planks and things like that, things where you're not going through the flexion and all that. So hopefully that makes sense. But that was a great question. And I don't think core training is necessarily as important on the bench press as it would be for something where we're under the load, like a squat or a deadlift. So not that it shouldn't have any priority. It's just not going to be, at the top of the mountain for bench pressing. Alrighty. At Lao Strength, what changes in the movement when a bench shirt comes into play? This is a great one. Love this question. All right. I'd say the difference between raw and the shirt, in terms of what's happening, is the intensity of everything, how you're using technique, is going to be intensified like 100%. All right, you're going to start to realize, like, all those concepts you see me touch on our Instagram, our YouTube, they become hyper focused. Like, you're like, oh shit, now this is what he means. Because with raw work, you're never really reaching that max effort, right? You're working most sub-max efforts. When you're in a shirt, everything's really maximal to what your body can handle. So I mean, even when you're working with lower weight, that you can rep out in a shirt, I mean, you can't screw up. You can't screw up the technique. So, in terms of what's actually changing, you need a lot more control with your back. You're going to have a bigger awareness of that because that's a lot of weight. You know, you can't have that thing hanging out in your shoulder. Um, you're going to have a lower touch point. It's a little bit different groove. So when you're getting down and you're really struggling to touch, you got to know how to really tuck your elbows, get your belly, keep that pushed up, because you got to think too, when you're raw, you're not matched with resistance. When you're in a shirt and you have that bar coming down, it's loading the shirt, and the shirt wants to just pull your body down too. So now you got to use your leg strength super hard to push your belly up against the shirt, trying to compress you down. The pressure's building up. You're trying to focus on the technique of tucking the elbows right and get that touch to the belly. And then the throw back, riding that throw back, keeping your back locked down so you don't float into your shoulders and then have a real damn of a time trying to lock that bitch out. There's a lot going on there. And I'd say mostly it's going to be the technique. Yeah, that technique you are going to find is going to be intensified like 10 notches. All right, so that's that. Loud Strength just joined in. But I just answered your question, man. You're like 1 second too late. I just answered your question. What changes the movement when a bench shirt comes into play? Um, well, you can rewind it after, I guess. Alrighty, we got a couple more that came in from the Instagram, and we have one here from GW Ireland. How do you rate wide grip pull-ups as a bench accessory? I recently started using a weighted vest on close grip, and it carried over to wide grip. I'm up to 5x12. Let me refocus on that. I gotta get a little more coffee and sip a coffee espresso mix for the working man. Damn good. All right, how do you incorporate wide grip pull-ups as accessory? Recently started doing a weighted vest on close grip, and it carried over to wide grip. Um, Traditionally, I think a lot more closer grip stuff will generally carry over to wider grip things. Um, but I don't know, in your experience, if that was more of a weak point for you, because it's kind of like if you train in sumo and conventional deadlifts, you got to be strong in both. If you're very disconnected between both ends, then you got to train that weak variation. You'll probably see that other one go up a little bit too. You know what I mean? So if you find into that you did close grip and it carried over to your wide grip, using your wide grip is like you're testing variation. Is probably that close grip strengthened some things that you needed to get up to par to be good at the wide grip. But yeah, I mean, in the bench, generally, I think training closer grip is going to be beneficial too. If we want to just get into the bench and quick, because close grip, longer range of motion, tough variation, and I think that's it's not going to mimic the wide grip. There's a technique base that comes with the wide grip stuff too, and it is changing into your shoulders and chest a little bit more and how you lock down your back. But being strong close grip, I think, really helps get you a better, wider grip on the bench, where I don't think it transfers quite as much. If you're always wide grip on the bench and then you go close grip, you're going to have a hard time with that. So hopefully that answers something there along the lines of the pull-ups you had. All right, let's see. We got YouTube. Dubson wants to know if he can email me that guy's video. Yeah, you can email me, my friend. Coach Ben at bigbenches.com. For anyone who has to shoot me an email, you want to send me your video, I'll take a look and kind of point you in the right direction. If you want more regular technique coaching, you can join up on our VIP membership as well. That's what that's there for. It can give you technique coaching there. And, you get access to all our other bonus content and everything. So something to consider. You jump on our website there. Dubson's also right with me with the coffee. Yeah, you can never wake up too much. So another sip of coffee, espresso for the working man. Alrighty, let's move on to, we got a couple more questions here. at Elliot Hayes 95. Any Swiss bar programming and technique tips? Just bought one and it is amazing. All right. So Swiss bar, I'm not the biggest fan on in my experiences with it. Okay, it doesn't mean it's bad, and it sounds like you love it. So yeah, more power to you, my friend. It definitely has its place. I'm not a big fan of it, but I don't, I try not to. If something doesn't work well for me, doesn't mean it's not going to work well for someone else. So I try not to be biased with that type of thing. But my experiences with Swiss bar, don't really like it. I can see it good as a partial range type deal, but you gotta be careful with your shoulders. I think the Swiss bar is what effed up my shoulder a bit. I did some benching with it, and it really, I felt some of those really pull my shoulder out of position, and I think the Swiss bar kind of effed up my shoulder there. So it could have been a combo of having that happen, and I was trying to do some pull-ups myself too, and just the combo, it really kind of wrecked my shoulder a bit. So you just gotta be careful. You gotta have good range for it, whatnot, and focus on keeping your shoulder blades pinned underneath you. I do like how it changes the grip, and I think for the most part, most people, that's going to really help out. We have an athlete that she can't really bench in that pronated grip here. All right, it hurts her shoulder, but she can do neutral grip stuff, and neutral grip dumbbells no problem. Right, so that would be an awesome bar for her. And a lot of people are going to be way more comfortable in a neutral grip. Just got to watch the range, though. You got to watch the range. That's why I say throw a block under there or something, two board. That almost kind of mimics like a floor press a variation, which I love, the neutral grip dumbbell floor press. So that's kind of my take on the Swiss bar. I do think I haven't tried it, but I know the quality that Chris Duffin puts out with the Kabuki strength equipment there. And they got that Cadillac bar, okay? And the nice thing about that is the biggest problem you're going to encounter with a Swiss bar is usually with the wrist. That thing you got to like touch on a weird angle. Like you're not going to touch that thing completely flat. It's going to freaking rip up your wrist. Another weight bar, it sounds like the weight's distributed differently so that you can just grip it and it feels good. You don't have to like rip into it with your wrist or anything. It's just the way the load of the bar is distributed. It is a camber though. It has the same camber of a Duffalo bar. Okay, so you just have to watch out if you're going full range. But that's why I recommend benching to a board with that type of thing. All right, so that's my take on a Swiss bar. But hey, if you guys got a Swiss bar, you love the Swiss bar, a football bar, whatever you want to call it, and more power to you. I definitely use it with our athletes training as well. So that's awesome. Who's in there, my friend? Love the videos. Thanks for responding. Yeah, anytime. And we got one more here. So one more. Let's see if there's any questions that are coming in here. Dubson says, awesome, coach. Thank you so much. I don't know how you aren't at 100K subs yet, bro. Seriously. Yeah, well, maybe one day. But, hey, I just enjoy the process. It's not, I don't get, really, what's the word, obsessed with the numbers too much of who's watching. Just, like, I'm just pumped that looks like we got maybe 10-something people here on YouTube watching throughout the thing, and we're almost up at 10 here on Instagram. 20 people taking their time out of their day to shoot the shit with me and watch me answer some questions. That's pretty damn cool to me. So I do appreciate everyone for tuning in. It means a lot. Now, Dubson also says, Coach, what about a Buffalo bar for bench? What was it about the Swiss bar? Was it the neutral grip? Yes, so the Swiss bar. So what was it about Swiss bar? Is the neutral grip? The neutral grip, yeah, is the real selling point for the football or Swiss bar, because it takes your shoulder out of that pronated position. So it's kind of like being up here in the overhead press. If you're like here, it's really tough when you're externally rotated out here. If you don't have good shoulder mobility, this is a really tough position. And if I did a dumbbell press like this and kept my hands pronated, right, like how I bench, that's really tough on my shoulders there. I feel a lot of restriction. Now, if I come in like an Arnold press, I'm nice and comfortable. nice and comfortable, and then I can kind of twist out from there. So it's kind of like that. It just puts you in that more comfortable position, neutral with your shoulders. So if you don't have good mobility, it allows you to still get some good work in. And to answer your other question, Buffalo bar for bench. That's that cambered bar. For anyone that doesn't know what a Buffalo bar is, or Duffalo bar, it has a camber to it. We're talking about 2-inch curve. All right, and the nice thing about that is that it will increase the range of motion you have to travel. The downside to that is, again, you just have to watch that, because if you don't have good mobility in your shoulders, that's going to bring you to a point where you're matched with resistance. You can only lock down for so long. Then you're just kind of stuck. And then to touch, you sacrifice that position. That's when the back starts to peel up, right? The shoulders round forward, and then we get into trouble there. Okay, we get into trouble. So we got to watch that. What I would do, so for me, if I was going to use the Buffalo bar, I think it's an awesome tool, but I would do it in a full comp setup with my biggest arch, because it'll put me around where I would be feet up benching, okay? But I can practice my comp setup. And the other way around is, if you do have good mobility, and I have used it this way for a long time, you could just do like a feet up variation with it too, or be a little bit close grip with it, and then just get that extended range of motion as well. So if you have good mobility in your shoulders and everything, and you're not all beefy with muscle getting in the way and shit too, hey, go for it. Extend the range of motion. Make the training harder. That's what it's all about. I think it's an awesome tool. I've done videos where I said some of the best bars you can have for bench pressing, bamboo bar. Well, obviously straight bar, number one. You need a bar to bench with. But a bamboo bar would be second. Love that teaching tool, prehab tool, injury rehab and shit. Bamboo bar, awesome. And then the Buffalo bar, the curved one. That would be a great tool to have. Okay. So that's my thoughts on that. Lift the Mailman, damn, ouch, Buffalo bar, forget that shit. Yeah, that could pose us a problem, some of us. Joe Powerlifter, thoughts on raw lifter grip that sets forms at an open angle at touch point. So I assume maybe you're talking about a wide grip, so that your elbows aren't necessarily stacked. And that's fine. I typically will coach just a stacked position. It's a general recommendation starting off. That's just going to be a good joint stack position, right? And then, of course, there's variations from that. So if you go wider grip, yeah, you're not necessarily stacked, but you're utilizing a little bit of a different technique, muscle groups and whatnot, and you're cutting range of motion. And sometimes that yields you lifting more weight. The not always being in a stacked position, I mean, yeah, it's going to increase the range of motion. So if you get a lot more out of cutting range of motion, benching wide, take advantage of that. So it's kind of, I just give that as a general recommendation. You can branch off closer grip or wider grip from there. It just depends on what your strengths are and stuff. So hopefully that helps, Joe. All right, so we got one more, but I don't got much to say on this topic, so I probably should have picked a better question. Someone else give me a question here to end to it. Big Jake lifts. Thoughts on Bill Crawford and Metal Militia style benching? And I don't know Bill Crawford personally, and I don't know too much about his bench style or the Metal Militia bench style. My last powerlifting meet, full meet, was the Metal Militia Worlds there at his or it wasn't at a gym, but it was at Saratoga. It was near Saratoga. I forget where the hell we were, upstate New York, at his meet. And I've never really talked to him much. I don't know him personally, and I don't know their style of benching. So if I knew what the Metal Militia style of benching was, I'd be able to comment a little bit more on that. But yeah, guys, all right, that's all I got from the Instagram. But let's shoot the shit a little bit. If you got any more questions coming in, I got a little bit more time here. If you got any questions, right? You see, I got a little free advertising for people we bought our house from. Signature Premier Properties. If you're in Long Island area, that's just what mug I had. Sip of coffee, espresso for the working man. What y'all guys sipping on today? We got coffee. We got coffee, espresso, whiskey. Quarantine, so who the hell knows? We can do whatever we want now. We ain't going nowhere. GW Ireland. Any stretching tips to improve the arch? Yes, my friend. Um, that last video we uploaded on YouTube, go check that out. About 10-minute video, all about soft tissue on the T-spine, things like that. It's everything to improve your arch. That's a video to watch. Go check that out, my friend. Damien's in the building. Yo, Coach Ben Hay from the UK. What's up, my British friend? If that's the correct term, I don't know if we still use the term British or whatnot, but I hope you're doing well over there. Sure, you're probably in the same situation as us, waiting for those damn gyms to open. Walsh Liftstros, what's your go-to coffee brand? Um, I don't have one. I did have that Death Wish coffee, and that shit was pretty good. I like that. I just get whatever espresso coffee that we end up getting. I don't have a real good go-to brand. I'm just a pretty avid coffee drinker. I can tell you, though, I don't like Starbucks. I think they're super shitty, but I do like the atmosphere. So I will suck it up and drink the shitty coffee because I like sitting in the Starbucks and doing my work. Um, but yeah, hey, you know what, guys? I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing some barbecue videos from me coming out at the end of the summer here. I tell you what, if you follow me at Bench and Benny, that's my personal account. You can see I was starting to, I got a Pit Boss smoker, all right, and I'm having a hell of a time smoking some meats. If anyone's got any suggestions or tips, I've been watching YouTubes. We did a brisket Sunday. We did some short ribs and a pork belly on Saturday. And I'm going to do some salmon this weekend. But, man, I am really having a hell of a time smoking some meats here. I'm watching all these YouTube channels and stuff, already getting a bunch of great ideas. And, I'm just kind of a rookie in the game. I don't really know what's going on yet. But, man, that brisket came out real good. And, I think we can put some cool videos together and maybe come up with a little barbecue brand as well. So, I don't know, you guys interested in that? That'll be a lot of fun. Um, but I'm like getting real head and heels into this barbecue and shit. Um, doing the smoking the meats and shit. So I'm really excited about that. I think we got something there. I think it's gonna be some entertaining stuff. All right. Although the actual process is just kind of laid back and easy going, But that's why I like the whole backyard starts smelling like the barbecue pit, and that's like kind of hanging out by the grill there. So that'll be something else. You ever try Black Rifle? I have not. I've heard about them quite a bit, so I'll have to check that out. I'll have to check that out. I think this is one of the things with the podcast, the whole coffee deal. I think everyone loves sip of coffee for the working man gig here. So I'll have to start shouting out some new coffee brands when we get them on the podcast. That kind of be out of my own pocket on that one. I don't think we're getting sponsored anytime soon for coffee. But anyways, Lift the Mailman, I think, has a question here. Slingshot with dead bench or pin press or pin bench, does that defeat the purpose? A dead bench is tricky to get into a good tight position. No, I wouldn't really work with the slingshot on the dead bench or the pin bench. I know it's in a stretch position and whatnot, but the whole reason you're doing that too is to develop that bottom position. So traditionally, that's going to be something we'll do with raw lifters. Granted, the pin's set down at chest level. Getting in a good tight position, that's the hard part with it. So it's just as much a technique type of movement than it is a strength-based movement. You have to learn how to position the bar in the right spot, how to get the right tightness underneath it. That whole process there is something that is a training effect in itself. How to feel that bottom position. My recommendation would be to kind of row the bar down first, get a feel for what it feels like eccentrically to be in that position, and then once you're comfortable with that, Everything has to be tight. Leg drive, hip tension, just boom from there. So it's a big teaching thing that you want to get out of that as well. So I would not use the slingshot with that, no. Walks, lifts, rows. Check out AK-47 or Blackbeard's Delight roasts. Man, there's so many. I've been watching this guy Weekend Warriors Barbecue. I've been watching his videos to smoke these glass meats, and he had a guy on the other day. It was that was an old video, but it was pretty insightful. And then he said to go follow this guy's channel. It had like 5 videos, and it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Um, at Barbecue Pit Boys. Yeah, I'm finding them. I'm finding them. I'll have to check those out. Appreciate it. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to try out some salmon this weekend. But hey guys, yeah, unless we got some more questions coming in, we're gonna round out. We had a hell of a time shooting the shit with you guys. All right, hope you join us next Tuesday as well. This is a regular thing, Tuesday at 12. This is one of my favorite parts of the week, besides watching AEW wrestling on Wednesday nights. Big wrestling guy. Wavy Davies in the house. What's up, my friend? You jumped on a little late. We're about to shut down already. But hey, guys, I appreciate everyone tuning in. And, hopefully, again, next Tuesday, I got to give my little shout out again to our VIP membership. If you want to get involved with our team, I'd love to have you on the team. We just posted some stuff up there today, but we do all kinds of bonus content videos and stuff. So if you love my stuff on the bench press, the squat, the deadlift, mobility work, all that stuff we cover in there. Some great content there. I try to go live with them every week. And I just we put out, we go above and beyond for those who want to be a part of that. And like I said, program templates, that's all free for our members and whatnot. So hope you think about getting involved. It's super cost efficient. It's less than $10 a month. So I'd love to see you there in the VIP membership. Get involved with the team. We got a really awesome community. So I would love to see y'all in there. So you can go to bigbenches.com. You can click on that VIP membership tab to get involved. And also a little shout out that we have our new online bench course that is launching in a couple weeks. So get on it now, because I do close those down. I close those courses down. It's a free course called Bench Doctor. All right, it's common issues on the bench press and easy, simple solutions on how to fix them. All right, you're going to want to get involved with that. That's a 5-day course. All right, each new video comes out each day, gets emailed to you. So I hope you'll join us there. I'm really pumped about that. We put a lot of time and effort to creating that for you, like we always do. And hope you take advantage of the free resource. So please go check that out. And Damien said, glad you're well, having great cookouts. The best, my friend. I wish I could airdrop you some of that brisket. You would have loved that shit. It was really, really good. Nice smoke ring on it. So I gotta get with some professionals though, and then see what they're cooking up. But I thought my stuff was pretty good. So I think I can hang a little bit. All right, Wolf Slips, good stuff, Ben. Thanks, absolutely, my friends. So I'm out. All right. Hope y'all have a fantastic week. All right. You can join us on a VIP membership if you want some more content and stuff. And I really thank you guys for joining the podcast. You've been listening to the Benchcast. Make sure you check out that Thursday episode. That's the topics on the Thursday. Check that out this week. All right, guys. I will see you soon.